Hi, this is Mikayla with TechWise Academy, and today we're going to go over how to make this turkey escape maze. So there's a couple of things that I want to go over. This is just the finished example, and then we'll go over how to make one together. So there is a turkey, and it's trying to get to the door, and the way the turkey moves is by clicking on the arrows. So when I click the up arrow, it will go up. If I were to run into the walls, ouch! It says ouch, and then the turkey spins and goes back to the start. So I will go through this. The maze is relatively easy for the sake of this example, but you are welcome to make this maze as hard or as easy as you want, and you can also add multiple levels. Once the turkey hits the door, it says thank you for helping, and the background changes and the turkey is jumping. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. And then we'll go through and make our own maze together. On the screen now is Scratch Junior. We're going to open up a new project. And when we do that, we're going to have a character. I have Tick. You may have Scratch Cat. We're going to delete this character. And we're going to add a whole bunch of custom characters. So the first character we're going to draw is the maze. So I clicked on the blank piece of paper, and I'm going to click on the paintbrush. I'm going to pick my square so I can make the outside of the maze tools. You're welcome to pick any color you want down here, and you can also change the thickness of the lines as well. So I'm going to start from this top corner and drag out a square as big as I can make it. Perfect. And it's also really important to note that we don't want to fill this with any color, because if we do that, then it will constantly send the turkey back to start. With our squiggle tool, I'm going to just draw some lines. Fun feature to point out, if I click the mouse pointer, I can click on this and I can extend this line however I want using the dots set up here. I'm going to add a line here. Be mindful of where you want your turkey to start. So I'm going to have my turkey start down here, so I'm not going to add a line down here. And I'm going to have my turkey go up here, so I'm not going to have anything blocking off that corner, making sure my turkey can still fit in there. I'm going to put a triangle right here, and then with this selected, I can move it if I want. And then my last line, I think I'm going to put a squiggle right here. So that's going to be the basis of my maze, and if I really wanted to, I could rename this as maze, but I'm happy with how this looks so far. I can always edit it later if I want. Now the maze is kind of small, so while we're at it, we're going to go into our purple blocks, and we're going to make this as big as the stage, but not entirely covering the stage, because we want it to have room for the arrows. So with the maze selected, it has the yellow box and it has the maze in the workspace. We're going to use the grow feature and make it bigger. So I'm just clicking on it. I might be able to get one more. I can also change this number down here, so instead of making it grow 2 times the size, I can make it grow 1 time instead. Now I'm going to move this over here. I think that is perfect. So now we have our maze. The next thing we're going to make is our turkey, and there's a lot of steps that go into this. So we'll click the blank piece of paper, click the paintbrush. I'm going to use a circle tool, and I chose brown, and I'm going to make an oval. So I'm pulling straight down. I'm not pulling outwards. I'm pulling just straight down using my mouse pad. If you're using a tablet, you would be using your finger. And then this one, I'm going to fill in brown. This is the turkey's body. So I'm going to move this over here. This one is going to be a brown circle as well. This is the turkey's head. And I'm going to fill that in. And I'm going to move it. Now I'm going to use my circle tool again, but this time I'm going to pick feather colors. So for this turkey, I want the feathers to be this color. I'm going to make an oval, just like that, and I'm going to fill it in. The next time I'm going to do this, I'm actually going to use my stamp tool and copy it. So now I have 2 red feathers, and I can change the color of them just by simply using my fill can and clicking on the color I wish to change. So now I'm going to make this one, I'm going to turn it ever so slightly, using my rotating tool, not the select tool. And I'm going to make it so that this is diagonal. And now I'll move it so that it kind of comes to a point or it converges at the bottom. I'm also going to take my stamp tool, make another copy of this, but this time I'm going to fill it in yellow. And the same thing, I'm going to rotate this ever so slightly and then move it over like that. So the bottom of the ovals are coming together as a point. I'm going to make a copy of this yellow feather. You're welcome to make as many feathers as you wish. I'm simply just making enough feathers to fill out over here. So I'm probably going to make 5. This time I want to rotate it so it's facing the other way. And I'm going to add a feather right here. This looks kind of awkward, so I'm going to make a copy of my orange one. It did do my yellow one as well. So I think what I'm going to do for the moment being, I'm just going to take this off. And then I'm going to make a copy of just my orange one. And then I'll rotate my orange one. There we go. And I'll move it back, move all my feathers back into place. The reason that happened was because Scratch Jr. thought my feathers were all one, and they were not. So I'm going to add the body here, just covering the point of all the feathers where they converge, and I'm going to drag the head right about here so that we can still see the feathers. If I wanted to, I could add wings, I could add feet, I could add different things. If I wanted to add feet, I could use the squiggle tool. I could change the line width, and I could add feet, and I could add foot over here. I'm not an amazing artist, but I am trying my absolute best. I could add wings with my oval tool. I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to rotate it. Nope, wrong button. And then put its wing on, and then I'm going to copy that one and put it on the other side with my rotating tool. I can use my shape tools to make eyeballs, so adding little circles. I'm going to do white for the eyes, so I'm going to make very small white circles. It is very hard to see because it is on white. But if I go through and I want to add maybe the pupil, if I'm going to do that, I need to have the line tool selected. That just changed the outline, so I clicked on it and it changed the outline. Pupils might be a little bit hard to add just because my eye is super small. So I will be okay with leaving the pupils out for now, and I will go ahead and make my second eye, and I put that there. I'm going to use the scissors to cut this extra copy of the head that it made that I didn't want, and I'm going to use a triangle. Actually, I want to move these eyes up just a little bit, and then I'm going to use my triangle to make a little square beak, or I'm sorry, I'm making a triangle beak, and then I will fill that in. Move it over, and then I'm going to use my squiggle tool and just make the little thing that comes down from the turkey. I think it's like a waddle or whittle, maybe, I'm not quite positive. I am happy with my turkey. That is going to be my main character. It's a little bit too big because right now it won't fit through these maze, so we're going to go ahead and shrink this. This is going to make the turkey fit a little bit better through the maze. Now what we need to do is we need to make our arrows. So blank piece of paper, and we're going to use triangles for the arrows, or at least that's what I'm using. You can actually add your own arrows if you want, like you could draw the triangle with the stem on it. I am just going to be using 4 triangles. And a helpful hint, I'm going to make the triangles very specific colors because Scratch Jr. can send 6 different messages, and I want my red triangle to send a red message. It just helps me to understand what the code a little bit better. Notice how I have a red triangle here. I'm actually going to paint that one, and I'm going to make it blue. And I'm going to make this one a down arrow. So I'm just going to flip it. So notice how I don't have to draw the arrows again from scratch. I can just change how it looks on the character screen. I'm going to do that exact same thing, except this time I'm going to choose yellow for it and turn it so that it is facing to the right. And then I'm also dragging these out to where they should be. And then I'm going to make one more arrow as well, and it is going to be green. So I'm going to add a character. I want this one, but I want to paint it. And I'm going to make it green, and then I'll rotate it so that it is facing to the left, as so. And then dragging it to where it needs to go. This is hopefully looking like a little joystick. That would be how you delete a character. You can press and hold on it. And then a little X will come up and it will delete like that. We have one more custom character to draw, and this is the door. This is where the turkey is trying to get to. So I'm going to use my rectangle, and I'm going to, or my square tool, and I'm actually going to make a rectangle. Fill it in, and of course the turkey needs a little doorknob, so I'm going to use my circle tool and make a little doorknob. I'm going to fill it in. There's my door with my doorknob now. It's a big doorknob, but that's okay. Now intact, and this is going to be where my turkey is trying to get to. So now that we have all the custom characters built, we need to do our coding section for it. So with our maze, we want to make sure that we are coding it so that if it is bumped, this one means it is bumped. The only things that should bump it, and we need to be careful that the arrows don't bump it as well. We are going to say if it is bumped, then we are going to send a message, because that means that the turkey has run into the walls, and we want to make sure that the turkey is not trying to just cheat through the maze. So we will have to send a message. I am not going to pick red, green, blue, or yellow because those are going to be used for my motion. So I'm actually going to pick purple. Well, somebody needs to get this mail. So you just sent out a letter, but somebody needs to open it. The turkey is going to be the one to open it. So when they get a purple message, they are going to do a couple of things. You're welcome to add a sound effect right here by making your own. You can make it spin in a circle by making this button show up, and then think of a clock. So we'll change this to a 12 to make it go all the way around. And then I'm going to make it go back to the start. This red block right here just kind of ends the code. So if you ever see that, it doesn't do anything. It's just kind of saying that this line of code is where it ends. So I'm going to be able to test that out in a little bit. I can't test it out right now because my arrows are not coded to move. So the arrows are also going to have a very similar code. They are going to be, this is the up arrow. They are going to be when the player touches them, they are going to send a letter. And the color doesn't technically matter, but it does make life a lot easier to understand that the red arrow is sending a red message, and the blue one is sending a blue letter. There is also an easier way to do this. If I wanted to copy and paste the code, I could do that. So I could just drag this code on top of that. I can drag it here. The only thing we need to remember when we do that is that we need to change the color of the arrows, the color of the letters that are being sent. Perfect. So now we're sending these letters, but nobody's receiving them. So we need to open the mail. And how we do that is we're going to get 4 letters. So when I receive red, when I receive blue, yellow, and green. And we're going to tell the turkey to move in the direction that the arrows are specifying. So my red arrow will go ahead and tell the turkey to move up 1 space every time we get the red arrow. And the red arrow sends a letter every time the player taps on the red arrow. Every time we get a blue letter, we're going to send move down 1 space. Every time we get a yellow letter, we're going to go to the right. And every time we get a green letter, we're going to go to the left. So now I can test that out. If I tap my up arrow, I moved up, I moved down, I move right. Oh no, have to move back to start. And if have to move back to start as well. Helpful hint on that I did not mention. With this block, this is the go home block or the go back to start. This block is very helpful if you already have your turkey where you want it to start. So if my turkey was over here, the code would send my turkey back here because that's where it started. So you want to have your turkey where it starts and then be able to do that. So far my maze is working as it is intended, except I guess I should test to see if I can get through my maze, because if I can't, then that means that I might have to edit my maze, and editing a maze is very simple. On the character list, ooh, this looks like, oh no. Editing a maze is actually very simple, and I do need to fix this gap right here. So I'm going to click on my maze, and I'm going to click on the paintbrush, and I'm going to use the select tool, and I want to bring this line down a little bit because my turkey is too big, and I don't really want to make my turkey smaller. I could try that if Scratch Junior lets me make it smaller, but I'm happy with the size of it right now, so I'm just going to edit my maze instead. So now when I try that, I can click my arrows, and my turkey moves in the way that it should. It's always a great way to test your code, because if something doesn't work now, it is an easier process to debug the code or check and fix errors or mistakes than it would be if we kept going and we had a lot of lines of code. So it's easier to check now and check often as opposed to waiting until there's more code. I'm going to go up a little bit so that I don't hit that again. Okay, so it looks like I still have to edit my maze. Just a second. I have edited my maze ever so slightly, so now I'm able to get that. If this happens, and I figured that it would, that's okay. This button over here resets all lines of code. I'm going to drag this on top because I want my turkey to be on top of the door. So everything works right now except for my exit screen. There's a couple of ways I can do this. I could make this have a new level, so I could add another character or another scene, delete this one, and I could add another maze here the same way I added it over here, adding a character, going through and painting my own maze. I am not going to do that for the sake of this video, but that would be an option if I wanted to do that. I'm actually just going to pick a background that looks like outside, maybe outside the house. You can edit backgrounds if you would like. You can click on the paintbrush tool. I'm happy with how this looks. And then I'm going to take my turkey on my scene 2. Scratch Junior has saved my turkey for me. And I'm going to make it jump when the green flag is clicked. And I'm going to make it jump for forever. This is how high it jumps. So if I wanted it to jump higher, I can change the number under the block and it will jump a lot higher. And I'm going to make this turkey jump forever. And I'll also run a parallel code, which just means that I'm running 2 lines of code that are happening at the same time. So these green flags will, when I press this green flag, both of these lines of code will run. And instead of saying hi, I will make it say thank you. And then I'll be okay with that. So then, and it can just jump right here, that's fine. When the door is touched, so in other words, when the turkey bumps into the door, I want to go to my red section. Notice how I have a new block here. That's why I added my scene first, because otherwise this block would not be here. So I want to go to scene 2 when the door is bumped, and the only thing that is going to hit the door is the turkey. So if I go up over here and I play my game or my maze, I'm going to test the ending of it. So I want to make sure that my ending works, because if not, then I'll go through and debug it. Perfect, that's exactly what should have happened. Since that goes on forever, I will manually stop the code, make everything go back to where it started. The other thing that you could do, since this is a white background, you could add a background here instead. I'm going to paint it, and I'm just going to make it one solid color. So I'm going to make a giant square, and I'm going to fill it in. Oops, filling it in. Sure, yellow and blue works for me. And that's how my maze could look. couple of things that you could do to add to this game. You could add a timer, which might look like, if I'm going to custom make my timer, I'm going to make it black, making a circle, filling it in, and then I'm going to use the red squiggle tool, and I'm going to make just a line down. Because when this turns, we're going to code it to turn, it's going to look like the timer is going. And I'll put the timer somewhere where it's not going to hit the maze walls. And I can tell it to, when the green flag is pressed, I could tell it to start turning. And then I'm going to tell it, I'm going to have it wait first. I'm going to put 3, 0 in here. And I'm going to have it repeat 12 times. Because if this is a clock, this will go around 12 times. For the sake of this video, I'm actually going to just put a 5 here. That would be a really short timer. The game would be very, very hard, but if that's the game that you want to make, you are welcome to do that. So my timer is moving because it's been told to rotate after like half a second, and then it would end. So I could add a background over here that says, hey, when the timer is done, I could have a you lose background. That would be a custom background. So I would have to paint you lose. And then that's scene number 3. So if I went to my timer, I would add a scene number 3. There is one more scene left that you could add for Scratch Junior. So if you wanted to make a second level to the maze, that would be a great idea to enhance this game. There are different customizations you can do. Play around with it and be creative. And once you are done, leave us a comment to tell us how you did your maze. Was it easy? Was it hard? What did you do for an exit? All of those different things. And we hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we are thankful for each and every one of you, and we'll see you again later. Thank you.